Welcome back to the last podcast from the last the Nerdum, where this month we're celebrating the movies that remind us why we absolutely love science fiction. That's right, sci-fi bliss continues, and this week we're leaving ordinary science far, far behind and entering a universe where being a neurosurgeon, rock star, physicist, test pilot, and an international crime fighter is apparently just a normal Tuesday. We're talking about the 1984 cult classic, The Ventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension, directed by W.D. Richter and starring Peter Weller as the legendary Buckaroo Banzai. This movie is one of those glorious pieces of science fiction that seems to have been created by asking, what if we just put absolutely everything in it? We got aliens from the eighth dimension, secret government conspiracies, rock and roll, and scientists, jet cars, evil red electroids, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, and a hero who somehow finds time to save the world while also fronting a rock band. And that's before we even get to John Lithgow chewing through the scenery as Dr. Emilio Lizardo. Buckaroo Banzai wasn't exactly a massive hit when it first arrived, but over the years, it's developed the kind of devoted cult following that only a truly weird science fiction movie can inspire. It's ambitious, eccentric, and endlessly quotable, and completely unapologetic about throwing the audience into a universe that feels like we're watching chapter 8 of a story that started long before the movie even began. We'll be talking about what makes Buckaroo Banzai such a unique sci-fi experience, its bizarre characters, its incredible world building, and why this movie has remained a beloved cult classic decades after its release. So buckle up, watch out for the red electroids, and remember, no matter where you go, there you are. This is First Last Podcast, and Sci-Fi Bliss continues with the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the eighth dimension. And I am John Mini Jars, and I'm joined here with John Smallberries. How's it going, John?
Well, John, it is going great. John Little Tom, and I am John Big Mike, or I don't know. Everybody's named John. Yeah. Whoa, boy, what did you pull me into? I can't wait to get into it. But first, in honor of this, I do want to show off my new kaiju hat, my Godzilla one that I got the other day from V Stock because I was with the kiddos and we were enjoying cool stuff. But anyway, yeah. So this one you picked out. But before we get too much further, I want to pay the bills here and kind of tell the audience who we are, what that means, what do we do, and basically. Yeah, you can find us at firstlastnerdum.com. It's perpetually under construction, but always there. Home base also on YouTube. I should say also. It is on YouTube, where you'll find our latest offerings. And Tom, what do you say about our offerings?
They're a bouquet of wondrous things. We got videos, we got shorts, we got lives, we got everything.
Yeah.
We just don't post much on our posts, our little notes. But hey, we're not perfect.
Absolutely. Yeah, but you can find us there with the latest and greatest. And as Tom said, we're coming over from our slasher summer into about probably the midway point, or plus an extra week with our Sci-Fi Bliss series. So check out those as well as our other earlier series earlier this year, whether it's Psycho Summer or the Originals Month, or even better, some of our fun things, and look forward to some of our other shows that are coming back here. We have some saved up and just been busy, but we'll get those out to you just as soon as we can. But there's more, and I believe it's a social media place known as Reddit. Tom, what are we doing on Reddit?
We're reaching out to various fans of the various groups. So if you're coming over from Reddit, hello. Evidently, my post didn't get deleted or banned from being posted. So hello. Come on aboard and enjoy the show. But yeah, I'm on there under First Last Nerdum. Also under X under First Last Nerdum as well. X, if you want to see what our latest video is, you can check us out there and you can find out for yourself. And Mike,
Absolutely.
you
Yeah.
have some socials as well.
I do. Yes, sir. I am on, so when I want to talk about it, I'm on X2, at Suffolk Jewish _ where me and Tom occasionally will we'll throw the ball back and forth. If it relates to the world of nerddom or anything cool or music in between. I'm also available on YouTube at Suffolk Jewish. Just there. Usually it's just whatever I want to put out there, but maybe I'll put some more tech stuff. Maybe I'll put some more nothing. I don't know. But in any case, where we are today, we are here with this 1984 box office bomb. Only made a few million, 6 million maybe in the theater, but it was made on a budget of like 12, 17 million, something like that. So it had backing and it had story. It has a very interesting history too that I read, and I'll let you fill in the details of that. But because you let me go first, and I picked one of my favorite all-time sci-fi movies, which no surprise, a Nolan film. That's Tenet. As we got to synchronize our watches to that perfectly wonderful time machine. Now I would argue this is the definitive cult movie. I mean, this is like, if you look up in the dictionary, this would be what you do. It also has it stands on its own in its own right too, for what it does, how it does it, how it gets there, and how the thing doesn't fall apart. Is yours or mine to guess? I have a few. I'm sure you do too. But with all that being said, I like to ask here, what is your history with this film? Because that's kind of the fun part where we discover this. And I've talked to other people who were born a few years older than me, same timeline, 80s, and they mention this offhand, unprompted, that this is something seminal in their lives, or that they saw early on, and it really kind of showed the kind of I don't know how to go. Anyway, I'll have to throw it back to you. Close the loop.
That's one of those movies that's got so many plates spinning. It's amazing that they don't fall down and shatter, but they all everything seems to it all holds together through the whole movie. Yeah, it's one of those movies where back in the day when I was reading Marvel comics, I would they would advertise different things in the comic books, and I remember seeing the ad for Buckaroo Banzai in there. Kevin Smith has a similar story about seeing that, the filmmaker, which I'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, I was kind of confused by it. I didn't know what to make of it, and it came and left as quickly as anything. So I didn't actually see this in the theater because, like I said, I didn't know what it was. It looked interesting. And then when I was so a few years later, when I'd gotten into college, one of my friends, he was one of his favorite movies. So he said, and we had a similar taste. We would stay up late just talking about just such nerdy stuff. We had a joke between each other is that if we ended up found ourselves talking about the Boba Fett action figure, we knew that we had been talking too late, and we needed to switch gears and hang up. But yeah, this is one of his favorites. So I was like, okay, well, if that's one of his favorites, then I'm gonna enjoy it. So I ended up seeing it in college, and yeah, I quickly fell in love with the movie. Yeah, it's one of those kind of schizophrenic movies that go in many directions at once. Has its hands in so many different things. It's not really, it's a sci-fi movie, but it's not really a sci-fi movie. It's a comedy, but it's not really a comedy.
Yeah.
It's it's just it's a musical, but it's not a musical.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it it starts off in one direction. Every time you think you got a handle on the movie and you go, okay, this is what this movie is, it takes a sharp left turn and goes in a different direction, and you're like, okay. So you just gotta have to sit back and absorb it. You're sort of like but yeah, but you can't help but be on the ride with Buckaroo Banzai. Much like him collecting a group of friends around him, he just kind of collects his fans of the movie as they watch it. If you if you're receptive to it, if you're just like and is way ahead of its time. It's one of those movies that it is not, it is kind of revolutionary even today, but it's much more people accept it more than what they did back in the day. Like I said, I didn't know what to make of it. I don't think anyone else did really in 1984, except for a select few that it immediately connected with. And like I said, when I finally did see it, I just it just instantly connected with me because I'm a nerd, but I'm one of those weird nerds, and this is just one of that movie that just kind of tickles that spot in me. And so what's your history with this movie?
I never saw it. I it never came across the lane when I was a kid growing up to see or what. I just wasn't in my worlds of influence, I suppose, when I was growing up. And likewise, like when I had heard about it, and I'd seen, I was passingly kind of familiar with it. I was probably more I knew more about the other one that always gets quoted, that the space God, with the weird monkey, we covered it before, the good God, the oh my God, the Buck Rogers, the Buck Rogers
Flash Gordon
thing. Yeah, excuse me,
Flash
Gordon. Yeah, excuse me. Yeah, so I was aware of like Buck Rogers and that, and these famous ones that that were made before I kind of developed my own likes and whatever. But Buckaroo Banzai is one of those that became it became a statue of science fiction that that people do. So I don't have a very good background story. So this is all new to me. And I've certainly seen different parts, but never in depth. Like I only had a brushing glance, nothing solid, no solid contact with it until now. So I have it was very interesting to watch this, and it did test the patience a little bit, but then when you kind of stop and you come back to it, it does pull you in, because it operates off of it's almost as if the audience isn't in on it whatsoever, and you just assume that there's this big backlog, there's this corpus of stories with this character that's so rich and deep, because there are so many painted details on here. Like I'll give you an example, like that never pays off. Like they're in the middle of a action sequence, and then they're like, "What's that watermelon doing there?" And the guy's like, "Oh, I'll tell you later." And it never tells us later. but it's also kind of had envisioned that this would be a series, or would have been derived from a series. So you're kind of getting, so in a way, all of those stories that just never happened because of this property, or that were envisioned, or whether they were still in the mind of the writer or the creator who did them, or the people who created these, and that was the purpose, or whether there actually really ever was going to be or not. I will say this: it is much more coherent and solid throughout, in its one little one-off of the Buckaroo Banzai universe, and it's also made in a way that the richness of details pulls you in, and you want to know more. Some of it can be maybe a touch kitschy or campy, but it doesn't stick there for too long, because it does take itself seriously, and that's where
completely serious.
Yes, sometimes there are goofy things, but where you also have like some of the sensibilities of the 80s, or of that thing, like where you have the evil villain John Lithgow. He's actually giving you, he's dropping PSAs on like what character is and like what it means. So like there's this very wholesome kernel that is really underneath all of it. So it's just very interesting. But what I wanted to say was, for as fictional as this is, and all the stories that we never got, it's amazingly coherent. and absolutely spellbinding for interest. I mean, even if you don't like this part, then there's something here that you're going to find that you're going to like, or that will pull you in more. Never mind you liking it; it'll pull you in. But like it does in this one little movie, this thing that its own history and story, it does things better and more competently than whole like 3-part movie series do modern that have hundreds of millions of dollars behind them. So that amazing that they can just draw from the ether and pull more coherent things than what we get today. But and of course, it is a cornerstone of a lot of things. It did a lot of things unique, but I had no idea. Like there's so it was kind of cool to be able to see and pick out some of the patterns and the things that they dropped. It was like I know, okay, maybe that came from this or that started here, but it's just very interesting. It's also like when you get into the backside of it and you start to read about the history of it and whatnot, it's really deep. And just how it could even get here. But I
Yeah.
would actually ask you too, because of the thing, the that this is also kind of coming at a time where they had Ghostbusters and Gremlins. I think it opened up in June, but those opened up
Yeah, it
together.
came
And
out.
this, yeah,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, it's yeah, it kind of is a very 80s movie. But yeah, it's during that time where yeah, Star Wars, they were still trying to catch that high of Star Wars, recreate Star Wars. So they were very much open to weird and interesting ideas, and this is
mhm,
definitely a weird and interesting idea. It kind of played on the old what Star Wars kind of built off of, which was the old serials back in the day. And this sort of is like one of those serials, but we're like catching it, halfway through its run. It's we're not seeing Buckaroo Banzai's origin story, nor are we ever told about it. We're given hints about his past through he meets a girl that looks like one of his lost loves, and and from their interactions with the Hong Kong Cavaliers, we do get a sense of history there, but we never really get the history. And it's one of those movies that makes you play catch up. It doesn't force feed you what's going on. You just gotta have to be there for the ride and to kind of start picking up on things as it goes. Now they did film a little bit more and put in a little bit more history into it. That got cut out, but which we'll talk about a little bit later. But yeah, this is one of those movies that doesn't treat you dumb. It doesn't
mhm.
spoon feed you. And so yeah, we kind of danced around it. Buckaroo Banzai. It's about Buckaroo Banzai, and he's this guy that does everything. He's got his hands in just about everything, and he's sort of like a rock star there in this world. It's almost like we got sometimes you can kind of play with, we talk about multiverses and stuff. This is almost like a movie coming from a multiverse where, this Buckaroo Banzai was a big thing, we almost get like this slice of a different world. But yeah, Buckaroo Banzai, he's just this big guy that's a rock star, and he's a scientist, and he's, breaking through. We begin the movie him breaking through the eighth dimension,
Right,
and this unwittingly kind of sets off a chain of events with these creatures called the Electroids, where they had locked the evil counterparts into the eighth dimension, and Buckaroo kind of gives them a way out of this the eighth dimension, and while this gang of characters, Hong Kong Cavaliers, are just trying to live their day to day life, breaking scientific discoveries and whatnot.
right.
Um, but yeah, this movie, talking about the maybe the origins of this, the writer, it came from Earl Mac Rausch, who was a novelist that W.D. Richter, his wife, had read, and W.D. and Earl are both from went to Dartmouth, and they found out, and she told him to maybe reach out to him and see what's going on, and so they they gave him an open invitation, Roush, to come out to um LA, and maybe try writing for for Hollywood, try writing a script. And they did get him to finally come out, and he told them about Buckaroo Banzai, but at the time he had called him Buckaroo Bandai, I think, or Buckaroo Bandy. And he told him sort of a kind of the basic story about Buckaroo. And they're like, wow, that's a really cool idea. So they gave him $1,500 to go and write. And he would go away and write about 30 pages, and then kind of give up on it, and then come back and then start over and write another 30 pages. But yeah, he kept starting the story over and over, in different directions and different plot lines. And then he finally landed upon this one that finally um they got with the producer, and they said, yeah, let's make this movie. So yeah, it's almost like um the writer Roush. He he kind of had to go through the different adventures of Buckaroo to kind of understand who he was, to be able to get to the point where the movie could be. And it's almost like he wanted to skip through his origin stories and just who he was, and get, because always with series of movies, especially with comic book characters, that first one's never always that great. That origin story one, you kind of have to get through that first one to get to the good stuff. It's usually that second movie that's really good, and then that third one kind of isn't so great. It's always that second movie. So it almost makes sense to me that you would get to Buckaroo Banzai in the thick of things. And like I said, he's a very no nonsense guy. He's somewhat funny, but he's very serious. I love the Peter Weller's the actor. If you throw someone like Bill Murray in the role, he would just be winking at the camera and kind of hamming it up. Whereas Peter Weller as Buckaroo Banzai is so serious in his action, and it's the people that are around him that are pretty humorous. And even them being humorous, like Lizardo, he's like the one of the and Butte are very very funny. They're very serious as well.
Right.
And
Well, you have such a cast here that you would never expect John Lithgow. You have Peter
Jeff
Weller,
Goldblum in the early road.
yeah, Jeff Goldblum. Yeah, it's just it's really a lot of people that you will see here that you will see later on in things that are even bigger and badder and better. So quite a cast. Like how they managed that, I don't know. I don't think that it was a unique thing. But I was
Yeah, and they kind of knew who they wanted. They reached out to John Lithgow. They sent him the script, and John Lithgow was like, I don't know what this is, and he turned it down. And WD and Mac were like, just come out and talk to us. So he went out, and they kind of explained it. He said that he had such a good time laughing and talking to these guys, but they just kind of won him over. And WD said, what's the worst that can happen? Maybe no one sees this movie, but you're going to have a great time making the movie. And so
right.
John Lithgow was like, yeah, that sounds good. And they kind of had to win Peter Weller over as well, because anyone that got the script, they were like, what the hell is this?
Right.
Because evidently it wasn't it was sort of like how it was filmed. It was kind of all over the place, and they had no idea. They really didn't know what to make of it. And it really takes the creators of the story to kind of explain it. And and they said both Peter Weller and Lithgow said that it's was a really fun set. They said that it was the best set that they ever been on. And Peter Weller was uniquely perfect for this role. He's almost like Buckaroo Banzai himself.
Yeah, they were looking for specific criteria who could carry it off, like a certain kind of look.
Yeah, that and he started off. He went to college. Um, in, and he focused on music, jazz, but specifically. He was going to be a jazz artist, and then he realized that he was not going to be the next Miles Davis, so he decided maybe he should do something else. And so, but his family was very much into music. He said his mother played the piano. He played pocket trumpet, and he also did the guitar. And so yeah, he was perfect for being the musician. But and later in life he did he got a, I think, a doctorate in Roman, ancient Roman coins or something. So yeah, he's
Huh.
one of those guys that he's a tremendously smart guy that has his hands in so many different things. He also said that from this movie, him and Jeff Goldblum had a band together, and they would play every now and again. And I think in recent times they both had like separate bands, but they would get together to play. And yeah, it is like I said, Peter Weller is sort of Buckaroo Banzai. um,
Yeah,
in attitude and who he is.
absolutely. Yeah. There was definitely was. The funny thing too is that with all these with the actors, and I screenshotted that because it's just perfect. Like, yeah, you have like the essentially
Mhm,
Christopher Lloyd was the one that I was trying to remember. But it's just
mhm,
such an eclectic character, a cast of character that you would not expect to be entertained or laugh quite like how they take it seriously enough, and then the funny parts kind of emerge naturally, like with their how serious they're
right.
taking it, and then you take that, whether it's the surgery scene, or their radio etiquette, or their
Yeah,
protocols.
evidently. Yeah, I was reading on IMDb that their discussion, their brain surgery discussion, kind of makes sense. Literally, what they're how they're describing it, and how things are kind of once you get in there, it's not all clear that's actually true. And there's such an attention to detail with the special effects. Obviously there wasn't any CGI during that time, so with the vehicle that breaks the sound barrier and goes into the eighth dimension,
Oh, right.
um
Oh God, yeah.
they had to build that. So they actually went to these guys that do the car racing with those nitro jets, and they had them make that
Okay.
vehicle for them so that it couldn't break it couldn't go into the eighth dimension, but it could go. Those those rockets blasting out of it were real. And yeah, there's that attention to detail that really, they weren't going at it half-assed. They
No,
were
no,
really,
not at all.
even though it wasn't a huge budgeted movie and they ran into some money issues, they really wanted it to be be something. It meant something to the creators, and in fact everybody in the crew and everybody, all the actors, kind of felt that energy and wanted to do their best for it, even though it was kind of bizarre. In Also, I was going to say that Buckaroo Banzai, looking at him with that suit and tie, you have to imagine that Matt Smith's Doctor Who.
I was
I
waiting
was
to.
gonna say, yeah,
Yeah. I
pretty much kind of takes his style,
the the
Yeah.
the less generous version, but still valid, or still a compliment depending upon who you are. I mean, it used to probably be a thing, but like you could see. I also, for a brief second, I thought, oh, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Rubin, but no, but that immediately goes away. Like when you see Peter Weller is only Peter Weller, and he doesn't even have that's silly swagger of like a Paul Rubin, and they're two different things. So I don't want to be insulting at all. I just wanted to make that comment. But this reminded me so much of if there was ever a Doctor Who that was as convoluted and as deep and whatnot. I mean, this would be it. This would be essentially the science fiction version of it because of the dimension thing. But really, it also has it carries that. Like, I couldn't help but remember like the those silly, He-Man and G.I. Joe, the cartoons, and they'd have like a little
Hmm.
spot, and they'd say, they give you a PSA or whatever, something like that, or moral of the story, kind of, Aesop's fables, that sort of vibe ish.
Hmm.
And this movie has it absolutely, but it does it in such a layered way. You're not turned off by it as a kid because you're not being lectured to. Because you take the lecture from like a John Lithgow character or a Christopher Lloyd, well, not really him, or mainly it's Buckaroo. And there's also like some quotes that I've heard that originated from this movie and were made even more famous by it. But like that was like, okay, like wherever you go, there you are, or
Hmm.
the constant gag, the one that was just they know how to pull that thread, and they know how to tease and allow the audience in on the inside joke too. Like when you see just different things go, so you don't really know any of these people, but you catch their chemistry because you can see it a mile away. And some of these, they work very, very well together. Some not so well as others, but for the most part, for having such a cast of characters and such a whiplash, roller coaster ride, like where you're going from one thing, it still tells a tale. And I gotta say too, the special effects were, I mean, it's definitely an '80s movie, and it kind of shows its age sometimes, but they're for what you're getting and what you're watching, it's very well done with that.
Hmm.
But there's also like this the old Cold War, too, that was kind of layered over it with this, and I didn't quite know what to make of some of it, but like I think it's read best is if you just take it as simple as possible. Then you don't try to because it gets away with like breaking all kinds of normal rules for storytelling and narrative structure and this and that, and you're still entertained. You allow it to get away with it because it's just a really
Yeah,
good.
well,
The world
and
building
then
is really, really, really well done. I'll give them that. I mean, it's janky
yeah.
in little places, a little hand wavy, but I mean, for what you're getting, it's very well fleshed out compared to, like I said, you have a
Yeah.
series today that has hundreds of millions of dollars behind it, and then the three movies that come out of it that don't make any goddamn sense, or
Well,
they're not consistent with anybody's sensibilities.
right. And the creators of this movie's very precious to them. The whole thing is precious. W.D. Richter, the director, and he's the co-creator. He before he did this is his first movie they directed. He previously wrote scripts, and he wrote the 1970s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So you got to see some ties with that with this movie. There's some of that germination there. There's also I was going to also say that there was some issues on set. The studio head David Beagleman was very active with this movie in his wanting to steer the movie and wanting to have his say in it. And one of a lot of times they would win the fights with him, but there was one where he didn't like the cinematographer in the movie, and he actually got him replaced. I was looking. Let's see. Yeah, it started off with Jordan Cornwith as the cinematographer, and he had done Blade Runner, and that they kind of wanted that look to it, sort of the smoky neon kind of look to it,
Yeah, the darker.
and yeah, and he some of the scenes that he lit are in filmed are in the movie, most notably the scene where they're in the club and they're performing as the band. You that whole kind of blue tone and the multiple light sources and the smoke, that's how the movie was supposed to look. and
Oh,
um and Bigelman didn't like that. He forced them to fire him, and he was replaced by Fred J. Conenkamp, which he's serviceable, but it made it much more flat and evenly photographed, and just kind of get added, a more kind of a bland look to it. So yeah, it would have been interesting to see the original cinematographer if he would have been able to do the whole movie. It might have been a different look to it. I'd almost kind of wish you could see that, and that's one of the things about with AI. You could almost maybe load the movie up and kind of do that. At this point, that would be kind of a more interesting thing that you could maybe do with AI, but I know that's sacrilege, for some people. But 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 yeah, it would have been kind of interesting. And Beagleman kind of fought with them in kind of weird ways too. In a couple of the scenes, or actually three of the scenes, um, Peter Weller as Buckaroo has red glasses, and they shot. Yeah, one of the scenes is them in that little conference room or conference area, and they're talking. He's talking about how the Rock is mostly space and all that. He's wearing his red glasses, and after they shot that, Bigelman said, "Heroes don't wear red glasses. Get rid of the red glasses." And the director was like, "Well, um." Yeah, heroes can wear that. He goes, don't worry, I'm not going to have him wear it through the whole movie. I just have two more scenes with him in it. And so that third time it showed up, and the big old man called him up and was like, I told you I would take you off this movie if we had red glasses again. And he said, well, you said I could have a 3. And his assistant was there saying, oh, you did say that. So he goes, okay, this time. But yeah, he was very much yeah, he had those weird requests on this movie, to the point where, and I can explain the watermelon scene. About halfway through the movie, they stopped getting those notes from Bigelman. So they were like, I wonder if he's kind of distracted. I wonder if he's no longer focused on this movie. So as a test, on the way into work, there was side vendors selling fruits on the side of the street, and Richter picked up a watermelon and worked it into a scene just to see if Bigelman would say something. And the fact that he didn't, he let it go through. It was like, okay, so he's ignoring us now, so we could do whatever we want now.
That's funny. Well, and speaking of having no oversight and doing it, that would be the Evil Corp or whatever, or shell company called Yo-Yo-Dyne, that is this the refuge for these red electroids. And they are essentially I don't know. I don't know. It's a terrorist offshoot, political offshoot of the Johns. They also have peculiar things like their all first name is John, just like the little spiel that me and Tom did up top. But you have these things, and it was well ahead of its time. It used it showed prodigious use of computers for as a and it very easily fits into a Hollywood world, because you're like clack. Oh, yep. Oh, we got it. We're in their database. Clack. And then like they actually show like some of the things. I don't really have any trivia or any facts that to come with that, but I noticed it. So you see the early hackers before people knew what that was, or what to call it, or what to that thing. But that kind of that trope of having this big brains, and you have this thing that you have these red electroids, and they're peculiar. They're you're not quite sure if they're down and out or whatever, but it's also kind of a very interesting story that we get for how to fix it. Because there's the Planet 10. And you get the black electroids, and they're the good ones, but these red ones they're just evil. They just mean evil. They're just, you see it. They're evil, and that's it. That's just like the watermelon thing. We'll get back to it. Well, we don't really get back to it, but you see them in enough light to kind of paint them and go with that and say these guys aren't for humanity, and they had disdain from everybody they're around. They think they're better. they have this. You have this. John Lithgow's character is so interesting, because
Yeah.
it's like a oh my god, like a Mussolini madman, mad scientist or something. Like
Yeah, that's
possessed
who we
by
based it on. Yeah, it was
yeah.
Mussolini. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of interesting because yeah, uh, the creator Roush, he's sort of has a little bit of Buckaroo Banzai in him as well. He's from East Texas. He drives around in a pickup truck, but he went to MIT. He has a dog he travels with. So, he's sort of like all over the place.
Mm.
Also, I like how the Hong Kong Cavaliers, if you take two of them, like say you take one of the hackers and then in Jersey, New Jersey, Jeff
Right.
Goldblum, who's a doctor, they probably wouldn't be able to talk on
Neurosurgeon.
neurosurgeon. They wouldn't really
Yeah.
be able to talk on the same
How-
level, but it was like David, Buckaroo Banzai, can talk and act on so many different levels. He could interact and make a connection with almost everybody on his team. But it's kind of interesting that not all of his team are probably work well together, but they all kind of come together with the Buckaroo. And Buckaroo, he has this core fan group. The what was it, the Big Blue Blazers or whatever.
Oh yeah. The
With
the
the little
reserve,
different
the blue
yeah,
irregulars or
yeah,
something. Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, again, they have every like they have.
You almost expect them to have like a decoder ring or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Like they even have like not just like one fan club or one fan group that's in on it that helps them, that are friends of Buckaroo Banzai, of team Buckaroo Banzai. Also, never in my entire life would I had ever thought that I would see team da 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 da. I mean, they have like literally they have the hallmarks of like Pokemon. They're all over the map with the Japanese anime, Japanese American, East West fusion kind of thing. It's in the character of Blue Buckaroo Banzai. He's supposed to be his mom was American, I think his dad was Japanese, something like that, whatever. But he's
That's
supposed
it.
to be this physical, the samurai cowboy kind of this thing, which you see later on, and like permutations, not directly on the head, but like that kind of trope, that those things that are reused to great effect, and other wonderful properties like Cowboy Bebop, which I don't think we've covered. Maybe one day we will cover, like we did with Akira. But these other iconic things, and it's all in the same movie. It's all in the same. It's wild to think that there was so much cultural panache, cachet that they. It just you can see why it was rolled up really tight, and then when that appeals to you, it can kind of serve everybody, can kind of serve everybody what they want, but still remain true to itself in this wacky, crazy wide world that they build very well. And you also have not just the main character is just really cool, but like all these other kind of sub characters that are around him are also cool. So, I could easily see like where if you were a kid and you really like the Jeff Goldblum character, maybe, or whatever, or maybe you like the
Or
the
Perfect Tommy or Reno.
yeah, or what I mean, they're yeah, and they also down to even like to the pattern that they use for like hero names, like New Jersey, like like it's right. Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that one's a give me too, because they do ride that horse. They do absolutely bring just that spirit, and you could even argue, there's just a little bit of touch of cyberpunk in all of this, because of the just different contraptions and the cool techno stuff, the tools and just cool stuff that you get to see. And honestly, like some 80s movies, like those contraptions are like, they don't hold up, or you go back and you look at it, like it's just like, boy, that was a lot cooler when I was a kid. But for this, they hold up. They seem, I didn't get that, like maybe a couple scenes, but like that was like, what sometimes you suspend disbelief. Like there's a scene there, like where it's like Penny, Ellen Barkin's character, is like kind of knocked out, and then the like red electroids are basically the evil, the plot. They even do the friggin' evil genius contraption to set the thing in motion, and if it doesn't happen in time, it'll kill the damsel in distress. I mean, they hit everything. They hit everything, but they do it in a way that is not cartoony, that you take seriously, and that is not campy or kitschy. I mean, some parts are kind of they wear out a little bit, but for the most part, though, you take everything seriously. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of like, oh, wait, I don't get to see the next adventure because there is none. I mean, it's really it's one of those things that just really simulates your imagination, and that world building is just phenomenal. That's what I really anyway. I'm left for it, but I'll throw it back to you.
And just talk. We've been talking about Buckaroo Banzai and the Hong Kong Cavaliers, but let's give out some love to John Lithgow as Dr. Emilio Lizardo and Lord John Worfen. John Lithgow is amazing in this. He's every time I come back to this movie, I've seen it several times. He's always it's always a surprise because I go, oh yeah, he's this character in this. Yeah, he's got that wonderful Italian accent, and he's one thing I did learn on watching the extras on this is that he there's a credit at the end of the movie for John Lithgow's dialect coach, and this guy is Roberto Torminelli, as he says in the interview. Roberto was the dresser, the wardrobe guy for MGM or wherever the studio that they were at. He was the wardrobe guy. And you would go down and he would have this wonderful Italian accent. And he goes, he went to Roberto and said, Roberto, he would give him these lines of his from the script and told him to record them in his voice. So then he would turn around and recreate Roberto's pronunciations for the movie. So and he made sure that he got Roberto a credit for that in the movie. And and it was kind of funny watching there was like there's like a little Q&A that both John Lithgow and Peter Weller did, and Peter Weller goes, oh, I always wondered because I saw that dialect coach, and and he goes, Roberto Terminelli, I've never heard of that guy, and he actually, Peter Weller actually lives in Italy now, so he was kind of wondering where this guy was and who he was. It would turn out to be like just the wardrobe guy that he kind of based his accent off of. But yeah. And it's always fun. It's fun to say Roberto Terminelli.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shout out to Roberto.
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna say too. Did you for were there different versions of this film that one is more beloved by others because this was a VHS release back in the day? I was just wondering if they ever got around to doing it or doing anything interesting like a commentary or special features, that sort of thing.
There's a I wasn't going to focus too much on it because I think it's out of print right now, but I do have Arrow's UK edition of Buckaroo Banzai on Blu-ray. There's no 4K as far as I know, and unfortunately, I think they're kind of overpriced DVD and Blu-rays of it, but yeah, this one's I bought it back in the day when it first came out, and I bought it from Amazon UK. It's a great release. It's got an interview with Peter Weller. Also, they've got an interview with John Lithgow, and there's like a little Q&A that they did at one of the screenings, a recent screening as of 2016 of it was Kevin Smith did a little film series, I think, of different movies that were beloved to him, and he invited Peter Weller and John Lithgow there. Okay. This was prime Kevin Smith, fat Kevin Smith. that he's kind of gotten skinny and kind of
Good.
lost his mojo recently. But this is prime Kevin Smith, and he does a really great little introduction before they come out on stage where Kevin Smith talks about seeing the ad in the Marvel comics, much like I did back in the day. But he became obsessed with it. He didn't get to see it in the theater. But then he found out that it was coming out on video, and he harassed the video clerk every week asking when is this movie coming out? I have to see it. And he asked for like the poster in the wall or in the window, and they set it aside for him. And when that movie finally came out, he goes, this, you build something up in your mind like that. It very rarely pays off, but yeah, he's like, it totally paid off. It kind of revolutionized his idea of what a movie can be. That it didn't play by the rules, that it went all over the place, and it's one of his favorite movies. And and then he brings out Peter Weller and John Lithgow. It's a really good interview. It's like a 45-minute little Q&A where they just kind of talk and banter back and forth. You can tell that there's a real good chemistry between John and Peter. And at one point, an audience member falls asleep out in the audience, and Peter Weller is like, "Wake that guy up! I'm not going to talk over his snores."
Yeah, no kidding.
And it was kind of fun. There's also a little the commentary track with W.D. Richter and Max Roush. The only thing I didn't like about that, because there's also Roush played like he was Reno. Because he's written a couple of books. He's wrote the book adaptation of the movie, which I haven't read, but I bet it's really good. But he writes those from the perspective of Reno, one of the characters in the movie, one of the minor Hong Kong Cavaliers, Reno. And so in the audio commentary track, he pretended like he was Reno, which,
That's
it's like, it's kind of goofy. And then, and W.D. Richter, pretends like Buckaroo Banzai's Institute is like a real thing, and Buckaroo Banzai is a real character. I don't know. Cosplaying like that is kind of cringy a little bit to me, but
I think it takes a special kind of love, and I certainly have had that love for different things that I love about, but to dress up and to custom make your own whatever, and then to do that and then go, those are true super fans. So awesome to there. And I was just gonna say too that it dawned on me too, what like this movie versus last week's or week before that, the first week's Sci-Fi Bliss was Tenet, where you have the nameless versus the namiest, right? So you have, like, there's clear two ways to build a myth, and one of the, and you can't go wrong with, instead of the protagonist, you can just go with your name. Buckaroo Banzai everywhere. Yeah, the fans. Oh, and also kind of like interesting in this movie too. We America is not a superpower. I mean, we're not like the superpower we are today. It's like it plays a much more lower background role than what we're used to. So it's just interesting, kind of thing to kind of throw in there. And then just the John Booty gag.
Booty.
Right.
Yeah, I love the interplay between Lizardo and Boutte. Lizardo, he kept calling him Big Booty, and Boutte. And John Lithgow was talking about how those guys would wear the Lectroid makeup. A lot of times, during lunch, they wouldn't take it off. So he said, some of those guys he got to know very well, but never saw their faces because they're always in the makeup.
That's crazy. Yeah.
And they talk. The director also talked about how they didn't have the money to always get the the special effects guy, the guy who did the makeup and everything on set. So there's the scene where where the black electroids are in their weird ship with the giant chairs. It's a very very cool looking. But he was there on set to apply the makeup and it looks really good. And he said kind of contrast that with Christopher Lloyd and those guys in the van. At that point they didn't have that guy there, and even though it's the same prosthetics and everything, it looks kind of cheaper because you didn't have the professional makeup artist applying it. So it does get a little little cheap looking. So he says maybe people don't notice that, but yeah, after you mentioned that, I kind of noticed that. And like you were saying, John Lithgow, he did kind of imitate Mussolini there. That was his with the head jerks and the where are we going? Home. When are we going? Real soon.
Real soon. Yeah. Yeah. There's just this natural organic kind of history that comes in with the film, like when they go from scene to scene that you normally wouldn't be able to carry that off, but they do. And you buy it. I mean, it's all over the place. And you talk about like, this movie's a mess, but it's not.
And you talk about how this movie inspires different things. One of the things I just noticed is there's some really cool little signs around this this company, and there's like signs outside that are really kind of clever and have little hidden meanings. But you have to kind of freeze the frame to read the little things, and that must have inspired. I have to say that maybe kinetically or spiritually, it kind of inspired the Simpsons with their little signs that they have around the different episodes with the little things that you have to freeze frame and catch them. But there's just a lot of stuff here that just kind of inspires, and it like I like the design of like the spaceships. They said that they kind of got like with the big ship that's floating around in space. They got some coral, and it kind of melded that together. Like the makeup wasn't all wasn't applied professionally. So
are they prawns or are they aliens? We're not sure, but maybe a little bit of both.
Yeah, it was the look of the aliens was inspired because I think one of the guys put like a lobster tail on their nose.
Okay,
and that was the basis for the design. And I like how the spaceship that they create is sort of kind of slapdash, but it has a kind of a cool look to it. But yeah, more biological and than you're not gonna get that confused with a Star Wars ship. It's got definitely a unique look on its own, and there's like subtle things in there, like how the red electroids, they're sort of like rednecks and they're the evil guys, and then the black electroids are the good guys. There's sort of maybe a social commentary there, but very subtle, and you could just kind of overlook it if you're not looking for it.
That's funny. Yeah, I was gonna say too, like for he's a polyglot, he's a rock star, he's a physicist, he's essentially Tony Stark. He is, he's Dr. Zoom. He's all rolled all into one. But he's altruist and has a good head on his shoulders. I know he did. But I was gonna say, did you notice his shooting ability kind of sucked? Like in general, like just for somebody who's so put together. I mean, it's implied that he hits the target or whatever for like a couple scenes, but they're not like direct. Like you hear this or you see him, you see the gun, and then you see the But anyway, like I don't know, like I controversial opinion, but I think the Buckaroo Banzai couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. But I'm probably wrong on that, so I'll be quiet. But
he uses his intellect more than his action abilities.
Well, I would never try to best him on those grounds, on those battlefields, because I would lose. And the other side of the coin would be, well, why would you want to pick a fight with Buckaroo Banzai? He's the world's greatest man. Like he's got he's got, he's practically cured everything but cancer, but the namiest hero you've never heard of, or America has never heard of, but like before it came out. But he certainly has grown into a legend of his own, for sure.
And they did cut out some scenes. There's some deleted scenes on the Blu-ray. Most substantial is the beginning of the movie. They were going to show these whole movies of when Buckaroo was a child and his parents were building out the original oscillator thruster thing to zip into the eighth dimension. But there's a tragedy there. But his mother's played by none other than Jamie Lee Curtis. She was hanging out on set and asked the director, "Can I be in the movie?" And he goes, "Yeah, you can play his mom." So there is that scene. His parents are killed, possibly by the World Crime Organization head Hanoi Shan, which he's been cut out. There's mentions of Hanoi Shan throughout this movie, but they went ahead and cut it out just to keep the audience from being too confused. But yeah, at the end of the movie, where they say that the next adventure is going to be Buckaroo Banzai versus the crime syndicate or organization,
World Crime League or whatever.
Yeah, that was him going to be going head to head against Hanoi Shan, which unfortunately we never did get that. But I did send you a link. Roush did finally wrote the book sequel there, and I was looking on Goodreads. It doesn't have the best best rating on there. But yeah, there's that. I think he kind of got weird with the style of writing. Also available still is the book adaptation of the original movie. Again, that gives a lot of backstory as well. That if you're a big Buckaroo Banzai fan, you might want to check that out. And also, back there in the mid 2000s, there was a comic book company that produced a few of the comic book stories, The Further Adventures of Buckaroo, written by Earl Mac Roush. So there is some. So if you're willing to dig out or find some comic books in the back bins, you can find some additional stories. Or if you don't mind selling the Pirate Seas, you might be able to find that online. But you do have these two books as well, with the Further Adventures of Buckaroo. So yeah, I haven't read any of the books or the comic books, but I'm kind of tempted to maybe check those out at one point.
I would definitely. I probably wouldn't do the book, but the comic book would absolutely be like a quick, a quick check in and see if you want to support it, and never mind that. But I could easily see where maybe a non-sci-fi person would love this. I'm not sure how many of those kind of type people are out there, but it covers everything, and it was made in 1984. It's a shame that it just didn't get a chance to do at least one or two more. It really does. See, I read one description of it. It was like it was a very elaborate description. It was saying something like, it's like it was like, this is like 10 years or 10 seasons of like a TV show. And then this is like, it was just like, it was just plucked from another universe and then just made its way here into our universe. But there was but without the connective tissue with it, you could tell like that if there's just such a richness to it, that you would think, you would assume that it would be so much more deeper than what you get. And boy, that would be crashing disappointment to that, but it lives on. As this, it's just funny how these movies have a life of their own.
Yeah, and they did attempt to do a television series during the late 90s. I think it was going to be called Buckaroo Banzai: Ancient Secrets and New Mysteries. But they kind of did sort of like a computer animated sequence that's on the Blu-ray as well.
Okay.
But Fox never did pick it up. And then in 2016, Kevin Smith was going to adapt the film as a television series for Amazon, and the but it looks like MGM got in a lawsuit with the original creators, and when that happened, Kevin Smith stepped out because that's not cool. Yeah, fighting with the original creators. So I'm sure he didn't want to get any bad blood there. But yeah, it's kind of sad that they never really got to do more adventures, and I don't think it would really work because obviously you would want Peter Weller as Buckaroo Banzai. You could do an older version of Buckaroo. Obviously he continued his adventures, but here, again, AI, you could maybe do some of those adventures as
I
a young Peter Weller.
I yeah,
Yeah.
I think that who knows with AI, but I do know that in our time, in our era, you have Bruce Willis, and I know that I don't remember the details, but I do remember in the headlines something along the lines of his estate, and he's still alive, so he's not like he's dead, but his
Mhm.
acting career is essentially dead. He's done and retired, but I know that they were doing some AI ish thing, and I don't know if that was official or if it was like somebody got in trouble for doing something with Bruce Willis that they shouldn't have. But I do know that will become a thing more, and who knows. But the problem with this though, like versus Doctor Who, very easy to have the concept of the Doctor kind of be this or be that, and then kind of have that wonderful MacGuffin to just drop
Mhm.
in or out whatever you want, and
Mhm.
have the audience be able to believe it and accept it, because there's just this
Mhm.
magic hole here, and you just throw it in there, and then out pops the new thing or the whatever, just magically, because it's good storytelling. But Buckaroo Banzai is Buckaroo Banzai, and Peter Weller is such a great '80s actor. Like, I mean, from RoboCop to gritty as hell all the way to this.
Mhm.
Like, it was just like I was just I totally
Yeah.
would accept him like as like and I love watching him because he does have a natural gravitas, like where he commands the scene, and you accept that he is this James Bond, Doctor Who, super whiz, dude, who can just
Mhm.
roll up and then boom, you
Yeah.
think it's absurd, but you believe it. I mean, it's believable. Like, but anyway, I just high praise for Peter
Yeah,
Weller.
and Peter Weller, he says in interviews that he came up with Buckaroo Banzai as a mix of Jacques Cousteau
Oh,
and Adamant, Adamant and Jacques Cousteau. Just to kind of go over some of the references that Yo-Yo Dine, the Roush, the writer of it, he got that from the novels of Thomas Pynchon. There's like aerospace company and a couple of his novels with the name
yeah.
Yo-Yo Dine. So he kind of lifted it from that. And Yo-Yo Dine Propulsion Systems is an office on the promenade of Star Trek's Deep Space Nine.
I was gonna say
There's that.
I read a little clip there that in the commentary the Kudas who were involved with this, and also Star Trek later on, like they did that Easter egg like that, but I
Mhm.
didn't have the actual details, so that's really cool.
Yeah.
That's that again.
Yeah.
These are things that, like, this is very long lived, and it will be forever, even more long lived.
Yep.
Wait,
Yeah,
like
and then
40.
right.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
in the Dick Tracy comic strip in the 2010s, there's a couple of references. There's like a business a reference as Emilio Lizardo's crematorium, and at one point the granddaughter goes to a Hong Kong Cavaliers concert. So to get to get perfect Tommy's autograph. So yeah, it kind of lives on. And also there's a reference in Ready Player One. And
Oh,
but the biggest one back there in the 2000s, yeah, I'm a big fan of let's see, I was going to say of Wes Anderson, and I was watching the movie The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou, which has Jeff Goldblum in it as well. The ending of that movie is the exact same ending as Buckaroo Banzai, where they're walking they're all walking together, even though in Buckaroo, some of the characters are dead. They all kind of get together and almost like a cast call to all kind of walk in that music. And then when they started walking and kind of coming from different corners and kind of coming together, walking together at the end of Life Aquatic, I was that guy. I go, oh, that's
That's awesome.
I saw it in the theaters and I wanted to jump up and like, yeah. Great reference. But yeah, that scene almost didn't happen in the movie. They'd finished filming, and you know how it ends with the kiss, and then and then the alien going, so what? Big deal.
Yeah.
The studio head was like, it needs something else. It needs a little something. So he threw it. He gave him some extra money to film that ending. So it was just even though the guy kind of harassed them and gave him a lot of grief through the whole thing, he did come through at the end and gave him the extra money to kind of almost do like a little music video at the end.
Awesome.
That just kind of pulls you together, and it's like, yeah, you just you just spent a couple hours with these guys, and you wanted that cast call of them all coming back and taking a bow, so to speak. And also it's fun to see you know that John Boutte was correct. His name does have that little accent over it, so it is Boutte.
Well, it's funny because the only thing that this doesn't get right, it would really break reality, is if they would have had some like YouTube, kind of a thing to call to today, but it amazingly well done for what you get. And I don't know, do you find yourself like, would you have wanted a sequel, or would you have wanted it right away, like back then, a couple years later, or would you have rather waited? Maybe it would have taken it maybe a decade or so and then have it be a little bit later on. Which would you have rather had if they would have ever got around to making a sequel based on that? Because there was no shortage of material where they could have gone left or right or straight through for the stories, because they had intimated quite a bit of material. But anyway, back to the question.
Well, yeah, it's it's sort of like one of those things where you're like, well, it's all speculation at this point. Whereas during the 2016 and on, we had a lot of projects where we did finally get a sequel to Blade Runner, which turned out really good. We did have some sequels, Star Wars sequels, that can maybe come out to a lesser effect. It's sort of like you think like that you need this, but do you really? Because you do have that original movie, and if they were able to, it took a lot to get this movie made and do it the correct way. Who's to say that if they ever got to do that sequel during originally, whether or not they would have been able to do it properly? If money was no object, it was just them doing it for the love of the art and doing what they the passion of it. Sure, that would probably work out pretty good, but there would probably there might probably be more involvement with the studio trying to make it a certain way. And and like the book, we saw that sequel book doesn't have the best ratings, so who's to say that they just caught like the lightning in the bottle during this movie, and they might not have been able to recapture it. So I think those Buckaroo Banzai adventures you have or speculated in your head are probably miles better than what would maybe be done today.
Yeah, good points. Good points. Yeah, no, I just was curious. You just never know with something like this, like where it would take off or not. But there is regardless, there is always going to be a fan following for this film. And also to your point about that, those things that happened in 2016. Like you had a very good start to like where essentially they just cloned. Like essentially like practically line by line, scene by scene. they carbon copy that, just switched out a little bit of the characters, made them newer, so some off that recycle the story like and that. But that is one thing. But then, these things that were made, they don't they kind of they decompose, and they don't
Mhm.
stand. And there's just something about Buckaroo Banzai that happened that allowed it to withstand the test of time. Again, not my words, but I think it was a famous actor who was commenting. They asked about films or movies or whatever, and it was essentially like, well, the movies have two lives. They have their what it does at the box office and the bottom line and all that, and then there's the life of the film takes on after it's been released, whether
Mhm.
and that's completely changed because we're in an all digital world, like where you don't go, you're not going to be going to trading, no, Tom and I aren't going to be trading, files, movie files, quite like that. It's just, I mean, people do, but it's just not quite as natural as like, hey, there you can just go see a movie or a physical media, that the parts that. But this will long live on, far, far, far long after certain properties and certain things are long, long, long on their way to being resurrected and to rise from the phoenix again. Because these properties that are out there, I'm surprised that they haven't jumped on this and try to make more money from it, or try to make it a cash cow of some kind, especially with just like to your point about the 2016 all the way up through the like last 10 years. That's essentially what everybody else is doing. It's just kind of like looking for old properties that they could have when they did have the money to revive them or do something like Willow, like that we covered, or something else that was something else that
Mhm.
was just kind of just very obscure and like a one-off, just it's surprising. That and or maybe that's a good thing. I hate that a lot of people yelling at me right now, probably in the audience, saying, "What are you talking about?" It's a good thing when they don't touch it. Um, but
Oh
but
yeah, and to our point about things coming back to better or lesser degrees is like Kevin Smith was going to bring back Buckaroo Banzai in 2016, but instead he brought back He-Man. And you know what kind of debacle that turned out to be. So
yeah, I mean
where
it
he kind of screwed the pooch on that one. But yeah, but yeah, this is a cult movie. It kind of has to live that. I
yeah.
saw where Gene Siskel, in 1984 during the film's release, he said, on his show at the movies, he correctly guessed that this movie would attain cult status. So he
Mm.
saw that within the movie. And and a shout out to Billy Vera and the Beaters. Billy Vera plays Pinky Carruthers in the movie. But his band, which I don't think anybody really remembers that band, but they were kind of big during the 80s as well. I think they have one hit or maybe two hit wonders. But his band plays as the band in the little club scene that they have there. And again, he plays Pinky Carruthers. But I always get a kick out of seeing him in there because it's, oh yeah, I know that guy. Um, and evidently another Star Trek connection. The quote, "No matter where you are, there you go," or "No matter where you go, there you are," appears on
Right.
the dedication plaque on the USS Excelsior,
Mm. That's awesome. Yeah.
according to IMDb.
Oh, I was gonna say too. I believe that a couple years prior to this, Jeff Goldblum he played in The Fly, and I think he was a mad scientist or a scientist, brainy type. But anyway, I it was awesome. I love Jeff Goldblum anyway, so it was just great to see him. And it's like, oh yeah, he is in this, and that it was. This is a. While I did not grow up with this in my childhood, this will absolutely, even at age 40 plus, this one is a quick win, and it's just delightfully light, and just self contained, and it has just a good way about it, that invites you in and isn't quite, again, like other things. Like there's just certain kind of sci-fi properties that I just didn't really like gravitate toward. Or I just thought that they were just whatever. They just weren't my cup of tea. But I wish I would have known about this one sooner because I would have absolutely loved it because it would have been, it would have the Doctor Who, years later, talk about Matt Smith and iconicness.
Mhm.
This has iconic all over it, even when it's a little bit Jeff Goldblum being a rhinestone cowboy or whatever, or six shooter, and that it's just very 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 well done for what it is. And again, it's didn't make peanuts at the box office, but they definitely had money behind it, so they were serious about it. I think that's a saving grace for it.
Yeah, that's John Lithgow. Like he said that when he was making this, he thought he was making Star Wars. He thought this was going to be as big as Star Wars. But it didn't turn out that way. But also, weird facts on IMDb. I saw this. This is the favorite film of Libyan dictator Muammar Gaddafi. So I don't
Okay.
I don't know what that says. Also, Peter Weller and John Lithgow both appeared in Dexter. So there you go.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. Yeah. No. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, there's again, even the minor actors in this, they later on went to do really significant things. Yeah, this one was fun. I don't know that I have too much. Or did we cover everything, or did we miss
I think,
anything? So much to cover.
the only thing else I would say is that, yeah, unfortunately, I think, even though there's a couple of good scenes with Ellen Birkin in it, she was kind of wasted in this movie. The whole romance really didn't amount to much in this movie.
Come through. Was more like a damsel in distress, kind of Princess Peach kind of thing.
Right, exactly. So she got to shine in some other movies, but yeah, it's sort of I think maybe if I don't know if they had plans for Buckaroo to have a different love in each movie, or if it was going to be like if she was going to be in further adventures with him, so that we would get to know her better. And I was kind of wondering if the sequel was going to be like Indiana Jones and be a prequel. I could have, if this movie had done well, it could have kind of went parallel with Indiana Jones, and been
they could have
kind of episodic like that. But yeah, that would have been fun. Maybe in an alternate universe, maybe if we get our time machine or multiverse machine, we can slide over and find the further adventures of Buckaroo Banzai somewhere else.
Yeah. Indeed. Yeah, no, this is good. I highly recommend if you're a sci-fi nerd. This is kind of like a foundational course you should take and be aware of. And shame on me for not watching it sooner, but that's why I'm glad we do this little podcast that we do, so that we can have an opportunity to go back and make an excuse and time to watch something really cool and then talk about it. So this one was great pick, Tom. I can see why you picked it, and I'm so glad you did as well.
It sums up under sci-fi bliss. Yeah, it's one of those movies that with sci-fi bliss, it's like movies that when you think of science fiction or just your favorite science fiction movies, it's gonna pop up and percolate in my mind, because it tickles all my fancies. It's always like the underdog. I like the weird. I like the cult. So just kind of ticks all the boxes for me.
It does.
So yeah.
Yeah, the sequel never came, but the bliss did. So
there you go.
On that
yeah, definitely check it out. And if you could find a copy of this Blu-ray reasonably priced, definitely pick it up. Like I said, the Arrow. I don't think it ever came out in America, but this is like the UK Blu-ray. I think there's like just regular Blu-rays now, so I don't know if they have all those features that are on that. But yeah, I really love the cover. Yeah, it's
it is pretty badass. And again, there's just so many things that it has, little trinkets that are significant.
It's reversible, so you could put that original one on there too.
See, that's cool. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, it's got the the katana and the Japanese. It's just got cool all throughout it. Jet car. I mean, come on.
Oh, and they kind of knew that it might not appeal to the everyday audience, so for promotions, they had the promotion team go out and go to like sci-fi conventions, and they they had a bunch of the headbands that Buckaroo wore printed up and gave out. So that's one of the big collector's items now. If you can get one of those headbands back in the day, but there's
Very
that.
cool.
Also, I think it also spurred from it didn't get promoted too much because it was one of those deals where by the time the movie came out, the regime that was there at the studio got changed over. So, and that was sort of like the old regime's big movie. So when they took over, you can't have that do good. So
No.
whoever's taking over, their new shiny projects had to take over. So there was also a little bit of that as well.
Indeed.
So. All right. Well, yeah. Yeah. Well, like I said, one of my favorites. I'm glad we finally got to talk
Me
about
too.
it. But only things get better. So you're wait till next week when we bring you our next sci-fi bliss.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. This